This video is for Bernie Sanders and all the Republicans. I'm a Democrat, but I'm not happy with the Democrats. Let me introduce myself. My name is Lynn Shakespeare from Central City, Iowa. Wouldn't it be nice if before things got this bad, if we would have known what was going to happen, we could have done something about it? And that's the problem. Bernie Sanders, your words don't match your actions and Republicans. Sure, you're doing something now. But there's something that people don't know. And here it goes. So, I did videos, lots of videos. And over the years, I've been trying to explain to people and whistleblow about my past. Okay? Listen to this very closely. You want to go after an oligarch. I gave Bernie Sanders the opportunity. And what did he do? He turned his head the other way. Mark Zuckerberg never created the intellectual work for Facebook. You may be surprised to know that I was the person that created the intellectual work for Facebook. The history is very long. Listen to this. In 1993, the World Wide Web came available. In 1992, I had a friend, a young female friend just starting college, became paralyzed from spinal meningitis. I have a sister that worked for a marketing and research company. I created a business plan for a social site that was to bring the world to her, and it was supposed to create jobs for disabled people and help fund a cure for neuromuscular diseases and fund free clinics and shelters. But it was 10 years ahead of its time. Well, at least 8 years ahead of its time. So when the time was right, I tried to get it going. But then I got involved in 9/11 cover-up of the planning of 9/11. Now this is interesting. You need to listen to this. Okay? We can go back and forth here because people are going to get bored listening to this. Okay? If Bernie Sanders wanted to go after an oligarch, okay? All right? Now I'm going to go back and forth because there's a lot of things that happen here. Now, Mark Zuckerberg got in trouble at Harvard. Okay, you heard this story. But that social network movie and book, bullshit. It's made up, it's fake. Sure, there's some truth in it, but most of the facts are missing. So it created a new history. Okay? The truth is, Mark stayed at my home. He was going to do the coding for me. And then Mark Howardson got involved and wanted to know if they could pay me to use my work. And I thought, hey, you know what? I don't have to deal with it. Okay, let's go for that. But then Mark stole it. Facebook, creation history. Okay, you know, you got the Facebook battle, right? Mark Howardson and Mark Zuckerberg called me demanding I give a statement that I gave my intellectual work to him, all rights to it, and I told him to create a new creation history to hide me. I wouldn't do it, and they took recordings of me. You notice how they're doing this now with the AI, making stuff up, and then they create it? Well, it's kind of like what they did. They created a recording so good that it was used to settle the Facebook case, the ownership case. It was never won, it was settled. And the file was sealed. So here you go, Bernie, you want to go after an oligarch? It would be really nice if you would help me. Unseal that file. Because you know what? I was helping my friend, right? But then I have Emery Dreyfus muscular dystrophy, Sjogren's, and Meniere's. I haven't worked for 25 years. I'm left absolutely broke. Okay? There's so much to tell here. It's kind of hard to jump from one to another. Okay? So there you go. Bernie, get off your ass. Okay? Now, here's the other part that's very interesting. All this deal with Trump that's happening, it didn't have to happen. Okay? Facebook's got something to do with this, but just wait. Okay? So I'm going to jump back and forth. Now, there are things that I say that people think, hey, you know what? The guy is bonkers. Oh, he must just be way out there. Okay, sure, I admit. I say some crazy things that don't sound believable. But that doesn't mean it's untrue. Something crazy. Okay, here we go. February of 1990. I just met a girl the night before. I was at Pennington Ridge Park in Central City, Iowa. February of 1990. It was snowy, it was windy, it was cold. We were sitting in my Camaro. This guy comes up to the window, knocks on it, motions for the girl I was just out with, the night before, and I'm still with, to roll out our window, and the guy says, "You don't know how hard it was for me to find you and all this and bullshit crap." And then he tells us about this story about the future. All the stuff that's happening now? And he talks about how I meet this other girl. At that point, I didn't know her, but guess what? She's the one that got spinal meningitis. How the hell did the guy know? Don't know. The guy describes that I created this work to help her, and it gets stolen, and it leads to the downfall of the United States. The exact same thing that we're watching now. How is it possible? I don't know. Okay. He also left a sheet of paper with dates on it, with symbols next to them in rows. Guess what? Every one of the dates did follow an event. Still, don't know. Okay, that's crazy. Now, listen to this. I got involved in that 9/11 cover-up, right? The planning of it. I was at a pre-event with Yusuf Memza. Remember, he's the one the United States said was a co-conspirator and he liked to create fake documents? Bullshit. Made up. I was also there was 2 future terrorists who just got back from flight school and an FBI agent that was loyal to a secret society involved in the government, and that secret society was responsible for 9/11. At that event, I learned of the grand plans of all this stuff for years ahead that was going to play out. Okay? Well, when I got involved with that, and I wouldn't do what they wanted me to do, they wanted me to destroy evidence, I became a monitored witness. But then they learned about that plan for the social site that I wanted to create for my friend. But there's something about that that's happening now. When I tried to get it online, I had a friend in the same hacking club as Mark Zuckerberg, and I tried to get him to help me do the coding. Well, when he wouldn't help me, and he said the site was going to be too big and too stupid, he didn't want to get involved with it, he wanted me to show how the site was going to be so powerful and so great. So I did. I wrote a new section in the plan. I wrote all the bad ways that it could be used. The ultimate spy program, okay, propaganda, okay. So you could overthrow an election, overthrow a government, okay. Insider trading, say this is the product, okay, and say, well, this is a real big piece of shit here, right? But if you make millions of people or thousands of people make it look like it's, hey, I like that, then all these other people are going to follow it. Does that make sense? Okay. So I wrote a detailed plan how to use the site, whenever it got online, to overthrow the United States. But it wasn't to actually overthrow the United States. It was to show that it could be used that way and it shouldn't be used that way. And specifically, I said, when Zuckerberg was at my home, we got to make sure that the people that were behind 9/11 don't get this. They can't get control of it. But that's not what happened. Mark stole my work. And to begin with, the government, top security, was going to help me. And then they didn't. And then Mark Zuckerberg and Mark Howson created this fraud, and then that secret society wanted that to use exactly the way I wrote it. And that is exactly what happened. Now, listen to this very closely. So I knew that they were using my work. I'm going to do that. So I contacted the White House, demanding that they figure out a way to shut down Facebook, but they can't use it that exact way. And in fact, I wrote down the steps on which they were going to use it, how it was going to work. And you know what? I got a phone call. Leave Zuckerberg alone. quit exploiting Zuckerberg for the theft and the fraud. Okay? So, somebody in the past, the Republican side or the Democratic side, got tired of me whistleblowing after they left me broke. And they stuck me under a federal national security policy that makes me hands-off to all civil lower government agencies. Kind of nice, huh? Not so good, though. Because, see, the government avoids me. But if you're one of those that gets in trouble, now I sued somebody, and I was in court, you see, and the judge was one of the first ones that found that out. He did a background check on me, and he found out I had all these sealed national security files. And when he went to and find out about him, he got a call from the government telling him that I was hands off. Okay? Are you finding this interesting? So, the Republicans are arrogant, self-righteous. The Democrats are guilty of ignorance and self-centered. You know, and sure, the Republicans and the the secret society are responsible for a lot of deaths. There was a lot of people dying around me when I got involved with that cover-up. Okay, and they don't want people to know about Zuckerberg stealing my work and the fraud, right? But you know what, Democrats, you're responsible for a lot of deaths too, but you just don't realize it. Let me explain. So my family attorney told me, you know what, you can't go after Zuckerberg, but you can go after Mark Howitson, the attorney, for directing Mark Zuckerberg to go around the law, and we're going to expose him for it. So I got witnesses, okay? I'm going to use names here. Listen to the names and pay attention, because you'll find these names in the news. James Smith. He also went by Jim Smith. He was an Iowa State trooper that died in the line of duty. Jeffrey Smith. Jeffrey Smith is from Wiley, Texas. James Smith in Independence, Iowa. Okay? They were both at my home when Mark Zuckerberg and Mark Howitson called, wanting a statement from me that I gave my intellectual work to them, or to Mark, and instructed him to create a new creation history to hide me, right? And I wouldn't do it. Okay? Jeffrey Smith knew Mark Howitson, or not, excuse me, Jeffrey Smith knew Mark Zuckerberg through a friend, okay? So I got them as witnesses, okay? But I'm waiting for them to give statements. They were contacted by the other side, offered more money than winning the ultimate lottery. James Smith, also went by Jim Smith, the state trooper, in an email he sent to me, he said, Lynn, I was really planning on helping you. I really was. And I know it's the right thing to do since I'm a state trooper. And I took that oath. But the money that they offered me was more money than I've ever seen. They offered me more money than winning the ultimate lottery. I just can't pass it up. 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours later, he was shot in the line of duty. Now, I had made copies of every one of the messages and emails that he had sent me prior. That one I didn't. I waited until the next morning and then I was going to copy it. Now, it went through a message relay, and for some odd reason, all the messages disappeared, just like that. You see that? That the Democrats would have got off their ass. Everything that you're seeing now, people would have had a better chance of stopping it before it got this bad. Your ignorance caused this. I have been trying to contact you over all these years and say, help me, help me, help me, help me before this gets out of control. Help me, help me, help me, help me, help me before it gets out of control. And you wouldn't do it. I mean, this is where we're at now. So you know what? You wouldn't like it if people knew, right? More than what I'm just saying here. And that's about to happen eventually. So here's the thing. I was asked to write a book, okay? I was involved with one of these lawyer committees for the 9/11 victims and the families. And a famous person that, okay, we think it was this famous person because of the timing. Anyway, I was contacted and the guy told me he didn't have much longer to live. And he said, Lynn, promise me you're going to write a book and expose all this. Because you're the only one that knows. Promise me. And I said, I can't do it. I said, I don't think the book could be long enough. You got to do it, Lynn. And he says, I want you to write a book about your life and all the interesting things. All these things that have happened. He said, I've been watching you over all these years. He said, I want you to write a book. So I agreed to write the book. Okay? I wrote the book. But I'm having a problem doing the I never wrote a book before, the finish editing. And there's a problem besides, and I need help, okay? And I got numerous phone calls from the White House telling me what can't be in it. They found out. Well, if you're going to put this in it, then you're going to have to go around it. Oh, you can't reveal this because you can't put our government agencies and our agents at risk. I got a call from the FBI. Same thing. Okay? Now, it covers my life from the beginning to end. Okay? I need help. Okay? I hate to be one of these people that ask for money. But you know what? Somebody could donate their time and help me get this book online. Published. But if the Democrats are going to keep going down this road and not help me and ignore me, it's going to come back and haunt you. It is going to come back and haunt you big time because people are going to realize how many chances you had to make a difference and you waited until it got this bad. Okay? But you could come forward now. It wouldn't take much to finish the book because I already wrote it. Just do the editing, do the chapters, the front page, the contents page, wouldn't take very long. So now, the Republicans could say, hey, you know what, we can play this, we can help him, and you know what, it'll make the Democrats look bad. You don't want that, do you? No. Now, here's an interesting thing. There had been other people that came forward that I had friends, family, people I'd been around that also asked me to write this book. And they wanted things in this book. Now, this is a problem that the Democrats probably have with me, okay? Because they're probably thinking, oh, you know what, he's crazy, okay? All right. Many of my family members have been in secret societies, okay? The Freemasons, for one, okay? And there was a lot of things that I had learned over the years, okay? I had my grandparents, on my mom's side, her dad was a sergeant in the World War II that had an event where he witnessed a UFO very close for not just a freak moment thing, for quite a while, and he got to study it. Okay? And then after the war, one of his friends that he served with started working for the government, researching UFOs. So if you're one of those people into that UFO research, I got good news for you. Well, it just so happens that I happen to know quite a bit that you don't know, that nobody's ever talked about, theories that people don't know, proof that people don't know. I can even show you photos. How you like that? And they're not blurry. They're within about 3 feet away. Crystal clear. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do here? You know, it's going to get bad yet, right? It's going to get real bad. The United States is not coming back. Okay? You know, back when I was involved in that pre-event, and I got to read the grand plans, you know, removing the Constitution of the United States was a big thing that they had planned on doing. Okay? I know exactly where these places were they were meeting. And people would donate money to the cause, and then depending on how much money you donate would depend on what rank you have, like give you like a military ranking, right? So you'd be you could just be a patriot, or you can be a general, or you could be an associate, because or there was another name for it, you know, because there's people that have assets that they use, or they have, well, kind of hard to, well, I didn't leave it all out. You got it in the book, you know. So anyway, I don't know what to say here. I know what's going to happen. That's not a joke. I know what's going to happen, okay? And I'm not the only one that knows what's going to happen. In fact, if you watch some of my videos, I actually gave hints about what was going to happen before it happened, okay? Do you remember COVID, when it was so bad? Remember that? Everybody was dying, and you're getting the shots, and you're getting sick. You know, in that pre-event, when I was talking to the double agent and looking through the grand plans, you know, and they were talking about modifying viruses, okay, gene editing. But they had a good idea for it to begin with. It was to use for swine to help eradicate, you know, a disease, you know, like the common cold, you know, every year. Okay. So anyway, then they realized there was they could militarize it and use it to get rid of a fighting force on the other side, bugs. Okay. Well, what is interesting is all you had to do was change a peptide. Oh my God, I just revealed something, didn't I? Yeah, all you had to do was change a peptide. Okay. But now when I'm saying that, you're saying, oh, well, you know what? It would take an awful lot to change a peptide. If you change the peptide, COVID can't bond, right? Guess what? When they first developed the genetic manipulated, gene-edited virus, right? And they were thinking about using it on the military, you know, in a war situation. They had to figure out a way that if you were across the lines on the other side and it was deployed, how could you not get it? So you had to be able to go to, let's say if a city was destroyed, you had to be able to go find the ingredients that you needed to mix it up to change that peptide. How many times do you think I had COVID? I didn't take no shot. Got rid of it. Maybe I shouldn't be telling everybody all this stuff because somebody's probably going to be hunting me down. You know what? Maybe I'm not even saying enough. Maybe I'm saying too much. You know, Zuckerberg's causing a lot of trouble. You know, they gave him a military commission. I don't know how many people pay attention to that. And he's putting up all these data centers and drilling all these wells and sucking up all the electricity. Sucking up electricity where the electrical grid, can't take the stress. And he's drilling all the wells, so the cities near them are going dry. We're having this problem right here, right now. My family, my uncle, used to own Wiggs Waterworks. He passed away now, okay? Wig, his name was Harold Shakespeare, we called him Wig. Okay, Fairfax, Iowa. He was also the mayor there. They drilled 70 wells for that new data center, and they expect the city of Fairfax to go dry. And the data centers are using up an enormous amount of electricity, so it's going to hurt the power grid, right? And they get electricity at a lower rate, and all of us people, we need to make up the difference. You know, when Mark Zuckerberg, I keep going back and forth here. When Mark Zuckerberg and Mark Howitson approached me to use my work, there was an agreement done. There's witnesses, okay? You can talk to those witnesses, okay? He owed me 15 cents on every dollar for using my work, and then he was supposed to help do exactly what I wanted to do. Fund free clinics, shelters, find a cure for neuromuscular diseases. MDA Telethon was ending in 2003. Look it up. So they were going to have no funding. But I have my issues with MDA, you know, but I want to find a cure for neuromuscular diseases for my friend would survive, you know. Well, she's gone now. She died. And by the way, if you didn't know what her name was Tiffany Denise Musil, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. But when she passed away in Arlington. Is it Arlington? I think it was Arlington, Washington. Anyway, her dad took a job with Boeing, you know, and she moved there, and that's where she passed away. Waiting for the site to come online, where we'd have an instant connection, like the way it was supposed to work. And she couldn't get a hold of me, and her parents couldn't get a hold of me, and she knew she was going to die. And she passed away before she had that chance. But you know, if Mark Zuckerberg wouldn't have screwed me, she would have had that chance. I'm trying to think of something else I can tell you. You know, the secret society that was behind 9/11, they control the media. And they don't want me in the public eye, okay? But if the Democrats were using their head, and you think about this, if you help me by getting that file unsealed and prove what I'm saying is true, you can ask Eduardo Severin, by the way, because Eduardo Severin was the last one that settled on that Facebook ownership battle, and he called me and says, Lynn, did you do that? Did you give that statement? I said, no, I didn't. Okay. Oh, there was something else here, too. Keep thinking about all these things to tell you. So when Trump got in office, I had called, now this would have been around 21, okay? Because, I'm thinking here, because my lawyer, you know, said I had to sue Mark, my last chance to sue Mark Howitson. Well, anyway, before Trump took office, okay, and it was Biden, I tried to get access to the national security files because I knew that once Trump got in office, Zuckerberg would most likely pay him to get those files, and they're destroyed. Does that make sense? Biden wouldn't get off his ass. And as soon as Trump got in, well, guess what happened? Oh, Zuckerberg, he had a dinner with Trump, and guess what? As far as I'm aware of, he destroyed those files. They were pulled out of the national security files. The footage that showed Mark Zuckerberg here at my home, the surveillance on my phone that had Mark Zuckerberg and me on it. Because in 2007, right, when the battle was going on, right after the phone call with Mark Howitson and Mark Zuckerberg, I got a phone call from top national security saying, Lynn, we heard the call. What can we do? I said, well, can you get me in a court? No. So they come up with a different idea. Well, I could go on and on. Oh, the bugs are bad. So anyway, Bernie. What's your problem? You know, I called your office. Told you all the stuff that I'm telling you. In fact, I even told more. And what did you do? You blew it off. There's bad news coming, Bernie. I like you, but there's bad news coming. That book comes out, people are going to know you had your chance. If you want to contact me and help me get it on, you know, get it published here, which wouldn't take much, you know, maybe it can save your ass a little bit. Yes, that's what I said. But I'm going to tell you something. Bad shit's a-coming. So, and in that book, the secret society is behind 9/11. They don't want that book out. Because you could use the book as like a roadmap. Okay, if I could have got out sooner, you would have known I was right about all these things and all these steps of what's going to happen. Okay, but they don't want it out because they don't want you to know. And you know what? I've been contacted 3 times. 3 times by people claiming to be representatives from the same secret society that was behind 9/11. And you know what? I have no options. Right now, they're the best option I have, but I don't really want to do that. I don't want to be like those other Republicans that know what they're doing is wrong, and they're just like a zombie. You know? I don't want to be like that. I don't want to turn on my family and my friends and turn on my ideals. You know? I don't want to do that. But it's going to get to the point that if the Democrats won't get off their ass, contact me, admit this. You know, Bernie, do what you're saying, put actions to your words, and unseal that document, that Supreme Court file, and prove this. You know what? It's going to get to the point that the only option I'm going to have of survival is joining up with the bad side. I don't want to do that. But this is what it's coming down to, survival. And like I said, they don't want you to know what's coming. You know, they don't want you to know the next virus is going to get released, what it's going to be. Where they're going to release it. You know, in World War II, they had a wall, right? Even though you had a relative here and a relative here, if you tried to cross, you got shot. But one of the ideas that they have is creating divisions. Okay? So you won't have the freedom to walk in any store and buy something. You won't have the freedom to have any doctor. Right? You won't have the freedom to go on the side of town that your relatives are on. Okay? There's going to be division. There may be a time at night or time of day that you can't go here and you can't go there. It's coming. The walls are going to be invisible. But they're going to know. They're going to know if you're there. and then they're going to go and get you. You ain't going to have no rights. You could just disappear just like that. Nobody will know. Nobody will know what happened to you. They plan on controlling all the food, the water rights, the farms. It's going to get bad. Wouldn't you like to know what's coming? Well, you know what? You could know.